Hello, everyone. We are live and nice. Let's see. I am going to invite, I'm going to send out an invitation. Hello. Hey. Hey, Khadijah. Hey, Sam. There's you. Hey. Hi. Oh my gosh, you look so fresh faced. I love it.
So do you.
Thank you. Hey, Antoine. I don't know if I know you. Hi, welcome. Khadijah is here, one of my friends, Khadijah. This is not the one that you know. Books are coming in. Welcome.
How are
Welcome,
you?
everyone. Hey, I'm good. How are you? How's Wednesday
Good.
treating you? Good. I think we can hop right in because I think folks are starting to join. And yes, hey, hey. And welcome. For those who don't know me, I'm Kyla. It's Kyla, not Kayla, and I am a style coach. I help brilliant women create brilliant closets. And I am here today with Siham. I said that right? Yes, yes,
Yes,
I
yes.
did. Of Wildly
I know
Black.
we talked about that yesterday.
We did. I have this thing. I can't
I
get
know.
people's names wrong. I myself, if I am it's Kyla, not Kayla, then I must get people's names right. So I always want to make sure I'm pronouncing it properly. But I invited her here today to go live to really introduce folks to her brand, which is Wildly Black, and have a conversation about what sustainability can look like. So Siham, do you want to introduce yourself to the people?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Siham. I'm the founder of Wildly Black. It's a sustainable fashion brand. We've been in business now for a little over a year, and yeah, we just celebrated in May our 1 year anniversary. So, we're really excited about that. But our pilot product is a bodysuit, but it's not your typical bodysuit. It's made out of sustainable materials like Tencel Modal, and it's reversible. And the thing that really sets us apart from the market is our magnetic closure, which I know for a lot of women is a big pain point for them.
Yes. I don't know what man invented the button-up closure down
I
there. That
don't know
makes no
either.
sense. No sense. The way we met, actually, it was here in Rochester, New York. They have this thing called First Fridays, where you get to go around to different businesses and this art hubs for like the arts and creative work. And I went to this amazing place called the Op Shop. You've all heard me talk about them before. And I love thrifting there. It's one of my favorite thrift locations in Rochester. And you had a pop-up there. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
not only what is this cool business, but also who's this cool Black woman running
Yeah.
this business? And I'm so glad we met.
I'm so glad we met too. And it was like a perfect setting because it wasn't like a hectic event. It was really nice, people trickling in. And that's when you came in and we kind of just like introduced and hit off quickly and exchanged our numbers. And here we are.
Here we are. Here we are with everybody. Yes. And I feel like moments like that are really great because there are plenty of Black female entrepreneurs out there. We are one of the leading female entrepreneurial groups, but our stories in building our brand and our stories in like our journey to being a founder are so unique. We are very resourceful people,
Yeah.
generally speaking. We are very creative. And like when you have all those beautiful skill sets, it really does come together to make something really dope, which is why I was really excited to bring her
Yeah.
brand to you all today. You all know I have my Closet Essentials checklist. If you haven't downloaded it yet, after this is done, you'll check my link in bio. But on that checklist, there's actually a bodysuit as one of the closet essentials that I fully believe every woman should have. And usually, the places you'll think first to buy a bodysuit will be places you don't necessarily feel good about. They're just places you know about. So I was really happy to bring her here today to give you a new alternative to the bodysuit and clothes in general.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about why you started Wildly Black?
Yeah, of course. So I've always been a fashion lover. My mom was a seamstress, so growing up, I was always around a sewing machine, and just growing up watching her like make anything and everything from like pillowcases, our dresses. So like that was kind of like my introduction to fashion. And I'm the youngest out of five girls. So out of all of them, I was the only one that really took a liking to like being around my mom and sewing and clothing and just like really just being like articulate about everything in regards to that. And yeah, it was always there. But as an immigrant child, I went to college.
Mhm.
I did the thing that everyone does, which is, go to school, get a career, and, everything was going well. And then I just always had that kind of like void of constantly wondering what would my life be like if I ever got into fashion. And it's so interesting because at that time, I didn't even know what part of fashion that I wanted to do, just because it's just a vast world in itself and there's so many things.
Mhm.
And looking back now, I never thought that I would have started a business. But my life led me to Australia. And in Australia was really when I had the time to really think about that next chapter in my life, what I wanted to do. And it gave me a year to really think deeply about what was next for me. And also be creative and kind of take a risk. And that's how I started Wildly Black. I took a course on how to start a fashion business. And once I finished that course, I was kind of immersing myself in the fashion scene in Melbourne. That's where I was, Melbourne, Australia, and really just had my head down and was doing a lot of market research. Australia's kind of really, just because they're an island, they're kind of known to be very environmentally conscious because
Mhm.
there's a lot of things being like imported, and they're very super conscious about their environment. So sustainability was really a lot of conversations in a lot of these fashion industry events that I went to. And I was very excited, but at the same time, I felt really disconnected because a lot of the stories that were being told,
Mhm.
a lot of things that were being kind of thrown around, certain buzzwords, I just couldn't connect to it. And so it was very white centered, is what I'm trying to say. So I went
Yes.
home. Yeah, I went home and I kind of just did a little bit of homework. Like I did a lot of reading, and I actually read Elaine Walter Ross' book. She's the ex-editor chief of Teen Vogue. I'm not sure
Yes.
if you've heard of her before.
I love her.
Yeah, so she has this book called More Than Enough. And that was
Mhm.
really like the catalyst to me. Actually, that reading that book was how I came up with the brand name, which is Wildly Black. Um, it was like an expression of how I felt after reading her book. Like it was just her journey through fashion was it wasn't conventional. And she was a writer. So it's not like she landed on her job being at Condé Nast and being the editor in chief. It was a lot of work. And even in her position being there at Teen Vogue, um, she did a lot of advocacy around politics and things that made a lot of young people care about important issues around the world.
Yes.
Um, so that was really it just kind of awoken me to like, you know, truly understanding myself and what I wanted to do next and what piece of the fashion that industry that I want to be a part of. And yeah, that's how Wildly Black was kind of born. And then I went into like kind of the marketing aspect of things and doing my research, um, which took some time, but I'm very happy that I kind of had the space to dive into all those topics.
Mhm.
Um, but since I wanted to be in sustainability, my first thought was, well, what's a product that's like an evergreen product? And I didn't really want to do a t-shirt just because I thought, there's nothing really more you can do with the t-shirt. There's so many brands out there that have like the organic t-shirts. There was nothing that I could really do with it.
Mhm.
But I can't really pinpoint the exact moment or reason why I chose a bodysuit, but I remember going out to a few shops in Australia
Mhm.
and trying on bodysuits. And it was a pain in the butt to even just wear them. And then
Yeah.
forget the snap situation. I was like, oh no, this doesn't even fit. So I went home and I was like, okay, like let's just stick with the bodysuit. What can we do with the bodysuit? And the idea of making it more sustainable in regards to the material was kind of like an easy thought just because I was like, let's take a piece and kind of modernize it to reflect today's, time and space that we're living in where women want to be a bit more conscious about how they're shopping. So immediately the material was like an easy thing to think about. Um, Trying to find the right material to choose is a whole nother story. And I'm not sure, like, I'm sure you are very aware, especially when you're styling people, when it comes to different types of materials
Yeah.
and what's good for you. And when it comes to a bodysuit, I think we all know that it's very much a type of silhouette that's very, very body forming. So a lot of people tend
Mhm.
to kind of go towards like the shapewear kind of concept of like polyester and nylon, which have a stretch and is very forgiving.
Mhm.
So it was very hard for me to kind of think of, okay, well, what material can I use that still has a stretch component to it just because of the way that silhouette of the product. So I went
Mhm.
with Tencel and Model. And that took a couple of rounds of sampling to figure out if that was the perfect kind of blend for the bodysuit. Um, and then the magnet closure, I think it was the first thing I thought of was, can we replace the snaps with Velcro? But then I
Yeah.
like did a couple of test runs with some friends and I asked them like, some questions and the Velcro option was like not a very sexy thing, especially with like the amount of noise it makes and just like, it just wasn't
True.
sexy. I don't think women would want to like Velcro themselves in a bodysuit.
It's like one of those things where if you're in the bathroom using the bathroom, you just hear like
Yeah, I mean, it's already enough how
every.
women get embarrassed, like if they wear like pads or like, you're in the stall like doing your
Yes.
business. So like I can't imagine how embarrassing like Velcro would be too.
Velcro will always make me think of like being a kid before you could tie your shoes. You had those like sneakers that
Exactly,
had the
yeah.
Velcro strap.
See, you
So
don't think about Velcro on a bodysuit. So I'm glad that that was a
no.
no-no.
I'm curious in your journey of like putting this product together because I love that you went with an evergreen product. I also love that you didn't choose a t-shirt because no offense to anybody who has a t-shirt out
Yeah,
there, but every time I see a new t-shirt, I'm like, not another t-shirt. Like
I know.
we don't need another t-shirt. So it's really cool that you thought of something evergreen. You thought of something that really is for like today's woman. Like I always say like bodysuits are very similar to like what a slip used to be in that you can wear it so many different ways. It's really helpful and functional as well.
It's
I'm
very functional.
It's
Yes.
very functional.
Yes.
I'm curious what you learned and like share as much as you're comfortable with sharing, but what did you learn during the process of like finding a manufacturer and putting together this item and having tests that went back and forth and having to like tweak and revise? What were some of your biggest learnings from that?
So everything was a first. Like I obviously have never ran a business. I being a consumer, you just don't think about all the pieces that go into creating a product.
Mhm.
So I for the longest time, for like a year, I try to outsource and like find freelancers to kind of do my sketches and even do my flats and all these other components. It was very layered. And I had to have an honest conversation with myself and be like, okay, Sihan, like you can't do all these different tasks. Like you have to reach out to a production agency, which I did end up finding one in New York. And I wanted to have a production agency on board because, like I said, this is a first for me. And it was important for me to be able to also learn as I'm going.
Mhm.
And that was just I thought the best route in order for me to continue moving forward and getting to that point of launching the business. So I did end up choosing to go with a production agency because of the lack of knowledge that I had to begin with, which was a really good choice because they kind of took everything in created timelines and really just from start to finish held my hand into getting the final product, which is our bodysuit.
Hmm.
So we went through four different samples. They helped us with finding a manufacturer. um, I was because I chose New York, it was easy for me to travel there if I needed to do like a fit model test and see how the samples looked, which I really wanted to be hands on because, again, it's my first experience and I felt a lot of pressure on me to make sure that I'm creating something that I was in there in the room through and through every process, even to the point of finding the fit models, which fit models are basically the women that wear your samples and how the product looks like throughout the
Hmm.
sampling process. I
Right.
was very particular about finding curvy models for my fit models just because I do not need another bodysuit to fit a stick figure. No offense to like thin women, but I feel like I really wanted to start with a canvas that's very reflective of the market that's lacking size inclusivity. And that was
Mm.
just through the research that I was doing along the way of figuring out not just sustainability, but the lack of size inclusivity when it comes to sustainable
Yes.
clothing.
Yes.
Um, and there's just, you come across these really strange statistics where the average size in America for a woman is a 16, but yet all of our sizes, majority of brands only go up to 12. And so it was really important for me to reflect what the average woman is wearing and the sizing and be very thoughtful about that process. So
Yeah.
that was really
Yeah.
that was really something that was important for me to be a part of.
Mhm.
But yeah, the manufacturing aspect of things, I really didn't have any idea. I was naive to think that I can produce in the US, but being
Mhm.
a first business and funding myself fully, the cost didn't make any sense for me at the moment as a startup brand to start in the US, so I did have to go overseas.
Mhm.
But also that thought process of me being disappointed that I had to go overseas um, was, quickly faded after I did enough research. Um, the reason why I wanted to produce in the US was because we were just coming off of COVID. And
Yep.
so I'm sure there was, or you might be aware of the conversations that were happening in a lot of these brands. I mean, these are bigger brands, but um, people weren't able to get their products shipped from overseas and just the cost of everything. And so I was just like, I want my goods to be made here.
Yes.
And like I said, it was such a naive thing to think because the reality is there are different hubs of manufacturers around the world for a reason.
Mhm.
There are only particular types of materials that you can get that are made in particular worlds, in the regions in different parts of the world. So once I went with a manufacturer in China and discovered that China is actually one of the leading manufacturers of fashion, not just production wise, but also quality and technology, I felt very comfortable knowing that, that was the best decision for me to make from a quality perspective and just financial for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting hearing you say that because I think that we have this idea as consumers in the US that things that come out of China can't be sustainable or can't be quality or can't be ethically made. So I love that you broke that stereotype
Yeah.
and you went for it and did that because that's a really unfortunate stereotype. Um, Especially knowing like you had to really think through your material. This, even though this is an evergreen product, it is very particular, and women's bodies vary so much. So the level of like care that you poured into this really speaks to who you are, for those who
Yeah.
don't know her,
Oh,
but
thanks.
also also the brand as well, and the product that people are receiving. Like, when you touched this bodysuit, it is so soft.
It is,
It is
yeah.
so soft. It's so nice.
I actually couldn't believe how soft it was, and it's so funny because it's not that anything was a mistake with how I went about creating the bodysuit. I think it's the fact of like wanting to do something and it turning out even better than you thought. Like when I felt the material, I was like, wow, it's so funny because when I was trying on bodysuits in Australia and seeing how uncomfortable it was, one of the things is like, there's got to be a much softer and comfortable feel to bodysuits, and to have produced that, because I was so caught up about the magnetic closure because that in itself is like its own production. But
Mhm.
once I got the final product, I'm like, wow, like I forgot that how I wanted this to feel really comfortable, almost like a t-shirt, but it hugs you just right and it's super soft. So I was like, all
Yes.
right, like I did a good job.
You
Yeah.
did great. You did great. So for somebody who is in the place where they're being more conscious about what they consume, like they're already like bought into like, I want to buy less, buy better. I want to use my dollar and vote for what I believe makes sense and like what I want to see in the future. What thoughts would you share with them about sustainability and about sustainable brands and your experience with
Yeah.
building a sustainable brand?
Yeah, I feel like very honored to have picked to build a business in the space just
Mhm.
because it is a very forgiving space. It's, a big thing that you probably hear around sustainable fashion brands is transparency. I think
Mhm.
it's such a forgiving space. It allows you to kind of be transparent about your journey and your process of how, hey, this didn't work out, or I'm trying this out. Like, that's how I look at my sustainability journey, is that like I'm allowed to make these mistakes because it is a territory that isn't supposed to be perfect. You're really trying things out to see what works because you kind of are going against the grain of, building a circular business model is not typical in the fashion space. It's usually that like linear business model where it's like
Yeah.
profit first. So
Yeah.
I think I'm honored to be in the space where I can just be myself, and that I set up Wildly Black to be that transparent space where, hey, we're trying to do these sustainable things and we're figuring it out, and you're coming along the journey because it's a first for me too. Um, but with advice in regards to sustainability, it's such a buzzword. There's so many times where I have sat there and thought about a different word to use, but there's no way of really getting around it just because it encompasses so much when you think about
Yes.
sustainable fashion. But for me, and what anchors Wildly Black is my introduction to sustainability, and that was through my mother and through our own like cultural practices. Sustainability is very much rooted, deeply rooted in Black, Indigenous communities. So, um, we were talking about this just yesterday about the reduce, reuse, and recycle. I
Yes.
think even that slogan was like, coined back in the 70s because there was like a huge environmental movement. But in reality, it's something that has been deeply practiced in Black and Brown communities. It's
Yes.
not necessarily new to be living sustainability or being mindful of waste. So, like, to me, with Wildly Black, like that's really what anchors me. It's like that connection to my roots and what keeps me a bit more conscious about how I consume.
I love that so much. And
Thanks.
and I think too, the beauty of your story to me is that you are coming to this from very unconventional background. Like you're
Yeah.
coming, it's not like you're coming from like this place of like, I've been working in fashion all this time, like I must create a brand. This is coming from the heart.
Yeah.
And it's coming from also being having been a frustrated consumer yourself. And I think that that's what makes things really special and different. Because when I used to think of sustainable brands in the past, it was very whitewashed, unfortunately.
Yeah,
It was very Gwyneth Paltrow, and it was like, this thing that those who can afford will go and do. And I had to learn for myself, like our conversation yesterday. I've been sustainable. I was raised to be sustainable,
yeah,
waste not, want not. We reuse and reduce and recycle
yeah,
all the time, and recognizing that in certain ways, I love that you talked about Australia being an island. When I was living in Trinidad, it's also an island.
yeah,
My whole relationship with consuming deeply radically shifted after having spent that time on an island. Bringing anything in requires duties and exports. There's only so much
hmm,
space on an island in the first place. Even the waste disposal system on an island is really delicate. So, having been exposed to that, and it's much more in your face, it makes you look at consumption very differently.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a
Um,
good comparison as well.
yeah. I think that when it comes to also having seen your mother as a seamstress in the past, that's also going to shift your idea around like quality in
Yeah,
general as well.
yeah.
So,
Well, she actually came with me to my first sample fitting, and it
oh
was
wow.
it was such a full circle moment because when I was young, my mom would help me make she helped me make when I was in sixth grade, we had this like medieval festival kind of like event thing, and she helped me make a dress, and it was um just like I have pictures of that moment, but it was such a full circle too, because she helped me actually make the first prototypes of the bodysuit too. So it was just, it's so wholesome to me to have my mom be part of something that she has introduced to me, and also be part of this like next chapter. And one of the
Mhm.
reasons why I named the bodysuit after her, because she influenced so much of what the brand stands for, and continue to stand by. So yeah.
I'm curious what that conversation was like when you told her like this is the thing I want to do. What was her response and like reaction to that?
She was supportive. I think for so long, as an immigrant parent, like they're kind of hard on you to kind of, because your parents make sacrifices
Hmm.
for your education, for you to kind of thrive in this country, right? And so, you know, that immigrant kind of guilt stays with you for
Yeah.
quite some time. But then I just felt like I wasn't happy. Like the year that I went to Australia, I was getting my master's in computer science. And
Relax.
yeah, I was a year into my program, and my mom wasn't happy about me leaving, but I knew it was just like a once in a lifetime opportunity that I could
Mhm.
not pass. So I knew school's always going to be around. I had a really good job and everything was going well, but I left in good terms, and a job will always be there. But
Mhm.
I just couldn't pass this once in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm glad I didn't because, all of this happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. We've talked about that. I have
Yeah,
deep
I know.
thoughts on it. For those of you who aren't following me, I've also taken the path of like, bye, I'm leaving the country, and your family being like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Um, but I think that just again, it says so much about the origins of this brand. So I do want to say, like, for folks who are in here and joining, if you're not following Wildly Black, please do and look through her content, and you will see her progression and the like people are talking about like building in public now, and you kind of just
Yeah.
did that before it was trendy, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Painful, but yes.
so go make sure you're following her if you're not already. So one of the last questions I wanted to ask, and then after that, I'd love to open it up to you all. If you have any questions on starting a fashion brand, on being a conscious consumer, anything like that, please drop your questions for Siham and myself in the chat. Um, but my last question for you, Siham, is when you launched and you had your final like product in your hand, how did that feel? What was your vision for it? Like, how do you see your brand growing?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a long time coming. Like
Mhm.
from 2019 when I like just thought about the idea to launching to 2024. So it took 5 years. So to finally have the product ready for people to kind of put Wildly Black out in the world. Honestly, it still feels surreal. Like
Yeah,
it's one of those things where like, okay, I did this thing and now I think the part that I get most joy from is hearing people's response to wearing it and how they love it because it took so long for me to create and then to see people really enjoying it and living in it. Like to me, that's still surreal. So it's a very much proud moment. As far as like what is next for Wildly Black, I think because we are such like a slow, conscious thinking brand,
right.
um, I just feel like we're just still so young. There's just
Yeah.
still so much to learn, so many events to do, so much
Mhm.
to kind of get Wildly Black out there, like doing this live with you. Like
Yes.
I'm trying to just bask in these like joyful moments because
Yeah.
it's still um like this whole business thing is still new to me and also just building it consciously. I think I've heard people say, "Well, when's your next collection?" And it's so easy for me to be like, "Yes, I have to think
Mhm.
about the next collection," but in reality, we're just still such a baby. Like there's still so much for people to learn about the bodysuit, you know. So yeah, we're still
Yes.
growing and um, nothing really in store at the moment besides just embracing being in the business and learning so many things and doing events and doing more in-person things. I think just embracing that for now, which I know is
Yes.
so not
Mhm.
what people want to
I
hear, to
love
be
that.
honest.
No, I think that's great. I think that's great because, oops, let me not drop you. I think that's great because a community is really everything. People will talk about community all day and every day on these channels, but like community should go beyond the screen.
Mhm.
We actually like spend time together outside of just like
Yeah,
Instagram lives, like really actually having community. Like, of course, you have an amazing product and the product is important, but even for people who are like-minded, people who are learning and seeking out education to get the opportunity to be in your space, learn from you, be amongst others who are interested in the same things, like that does so much for us.
it does. Yeah.
In this very like, I feel like we're all living in this socially distanced world still. So
Yeah, I'm just
yeah.
I think my husband like put it best. He's like, you just need to be famous in like the five parameters of like where you live. Like, so I'm trying to just kind of let people know like, hey, we're in Rochester, we're local, like
Yes.
and just make my way around and meet, you know, great women like you also and like have conversations outside of just like business stuff. Like it just really, like you said, it's all about building community and that truly takes some time and nurturing. So yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, folks, please stay in, like I said, follow her, follow me.
Yeah.
Stay in our community and you'll stay abreast of like what's going on, the things that are coming up, and also getting to know again, like her past content just around building and bringing this product to life is really powerful. I really love it.
Thank
So I'm
you.
gonna check and see what people were saying because I know there were a few chats we had missed earlier as well. Some folks said, hey, hey. Some folks said, congratulations.
Oh,
Let's see. Wishing Wildly Black the best. I love that. Thank you. The magnetic closure bodysuit is a game changer. It really is. That was actually very
yeah.
smart. Yeah, very intelligent.
Like I said, the Velcro was a no-no, but then once I got to the magnet, I was like, let's test it out. And that was like the
Yeah.
prototype that I did. I'm like, Mom, let's see if I can wear this, walk this home and wear it like through the airport. If it stays, then I think we're onto something. And it did. And yeah.
How is it finding like putting that together? Did she have any doubts? Did you have any doubts with the magnet? Because I've never seen that
That
before in my life.
Yeah, that day that that she was like, well, she did 99% of the work. I was just like hovering over her, like, when are you gonna finish? Like, I was just so impatient. Um, it was tricky. Her creating the bodysuit wasn't like sewing it together. That wasn't the problem. But us trying to figure out how to just sew the magnets in within the material was a little
Mhm.
tricky. And it
Right.
wasn't perfect. Like I told her, I was like, it doesn't have to be perfect. And, she's very meticulous. And I
Mhm.
was just like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like it's just a prototype. Like I just, like I,
We wonder where we get these things from.
I know. um, yeah, so like once we figured that out, which took a minute, um, I put it on and I was like, okay, it's sticking. And then I knew it was a thing when I wore one of the prototypes and I had to run through the airport and it
Yeah.
stayed. And I was like, okay, like this, because I was worried, like, how strong the magnets were because they're not your typical like refrigerator magnets. So,
Right.
but yeah, it
I love
works.
that. I love that. And I think that the airport test is an excellent test because
Yeah.
if I can get from point A to point B comfortably,
Yeah.
there are clothes that I own right now with no magnets that would not survive that test.
Yeah.
So
I
that is
mean, the
amazing.
future, like in regards to like, I definitely want to do more iterations in regards to like getting, since this is our first product, feedback and reviews are so important to us so we know what to do next to make it better. Because me being the perfectionist, I'm always thinking like, how can it be better? How can we
Yeah.
go from here, And there was actually a point where I was worried about launching and getting the bodysuits out there because I was like, well, we can tweak this part. But then I read this thing that said, like, if you launch and it's perfect, then it's too late. So I was just like, we have to
Ooh,
just get it out there. Like,
wow, that is real.
yeah.
That's real.
So
I've
I,
also had to learn to just like release perfection and let it be
hmm
done. Let it be
yeah,
done. I
yeah.
love that. And then also one thing that came to my mind, and this is me just like with girl boss brain on, like at any point have you considered um maybe like wholesaling your product to retailers or anything like that? Because right now she is like you buy her product from the website directly from Wildly Black. Is that something you've considered, or is that something you're like shying away from for now?
I have considered that. These are things before you start a business, like they talk about what type of business model you want, and
Mhm.
wholesale was something that was on the page, but because I was funding myself, and this is something that it was really important to see you know, if the market had a positive reaction towards the product, which it's been great, but wholesale is just a whole different beast
Yeah.
from a business perspective that I don't think we have time to talk about tonight, but
Yes, no.
it's definitely something that I thought about and would consider in the future. But seeing that it's just me. It's just little old me that's
Yeah.
behind the business.
You would not know looking at things.
Yeah. Um, it's just me. So I think I have to do with what I have. And right now, like I said, my main focus is events, community work, getting out there, letting people
Mhm.
know that
Yes.
we exist. Like that is just like number one priority right now.
Yes. And that totally makes sense. And there's zero.
Yeah.
That's not any
Hopefully we
question
get
about
there.
that.
In
Yes.
time we
Which you
get there.
will. Yes. But I think for now, focusing on community is just that's the most important thing. I mean, there is no retailers, there is no product without community at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. And
Let's
I'm actually wearing well, sorry, what were you gonna
Oh
say?
no, please go ahead. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
actually wearing the silver because we have three different colors in our bodysuits. Technically six because they are reversible, but
Mhm.
I'm wearing the bronzed silver mist. So the opposite side is like a silverish mist, and then the bronzed part. And then we have a
Yes.
black and white, which is a classic. And then I'm blanking out.
the
The
lime
cobalt
green
blue.
and the blue.
Yeah, the
Yes.
cobalt blue and chartreuse. That's
Yes.
more of the girls that like to wear, color.
Yes. It's one of my favorite colors, which is why I remembered it.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And I think the beauty again of like a bodysuit, and this is me just putting on like style coach hat and taking off interviewer hat, is like
Yes.
I truly believe a bodysuit is a closet essential because you can wear it all year long. It really works as a versatile piece that you can dress up, you can dress it down, and whether you're layering it or it's the main character in the show, like,
Yeah,
your a bodysuit is huge. I think
it
everybody
is.
needs to have one in their closet, at least one that's a neutral. But if the cobalt and chartreuse is speaking to you, go get that one as well.
Yes.
But I think that I love that you have the black and the white, and that you have the, what did you call the colors? The gray with the tan. It's
The
bronze and
bronze and the silver
silver.
mist.
Yes, I love that. I love
Yeah,
that
and the black
because
and white we call it onyx and marble.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, those four colors right there are not going to fail you. You
Yeah,
will
no.
get a lot from those colors.
Yeah.
So yes, this is great. Let's see. What else have folks said? That's great. We have one more question for you here. What is some advice for Black women considering their own start in the beauty or fashion industry? What are some words of affirmation you hold for yourself to remind yourself that this is your path? Ooh, those are two questions. Okay, let's start with
Yeah.
the first one.
The first
Advice.
one was any
These are good.
advice. Um, one advice that I would really get upset about with people, they would say to me, um, which I understand now, is when they say just start. And the reason why I got upset back then was because probably was just not equipped with being resourceful and like thinking that it had to be like I had to have all the information first before I started. And looking back at it now, like there wasn't really a specific order of way of doing things. I just always had a thing for fashion. And so like I just started, I took a sketch course, and that kind of evolved into taking, this other course on how to start a fashion business. And then it just led to, well, I want to meet people. And then you slowly start building up and kind of creating your own path. So I'm giving you the advice that I hated hearing when I started, but just start.
Yeah. Sometimes the advice you hate is the advice you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I fully agree with that. I second that, by the way.
Good. Well, what
Just
advice would
start.
you give?
Wow. I would say, hmm, I can't say just start. I would say, well, after you just start, keep pushing
Oh,
and be
yeah.
ready to pivot at any point. Um, Keep moving the ball forward at the very least, like at least one task a day or one task a week that just like pushes things just a little bit further. Don't be
Mhm.
too focused on the giant milestones and those
Yeah.
highlight moments for social media. Like really just like move your own needle forward. And as I know it sounds so cliche, but one day you will look up and then be like, wait a minute, how did I get this far?
Yeah.
I didn't even, like, one day you have a
Yeah.
product in your hand or
Yeah, that's
you
how I really
have an
feel.
interview, like, and you're like,
Yeah.
wait, I really did that.
Yeah.
So, I think just like after you get started, keep going. Keep
Yeah.
going. And then the next question, and I guess we'll leave room if anybody else wants to ask any other questions, but the next question is, what are some words of affirmation you hold for yourself to remind yourself that this is your path?
Um, Compassion, just having a lot of compassion for myself, just because I also have a full-time job still while I'm running Wildly Black. So um my full-time job humbles me enough to realize that I can't do it all. And
Mm.
um, you know, I'm sure you do this too, where you create these deadlines for yourself and it's just
Yes.
like no one really knows about it but yourself. So like um I
Yeah.
just am learning truly how to have compassion for myself. It did take a while, but and it's something that you always have to practice. So like just telling myself that everything's going to be okay and just be kind to yourself is something that I constantly have to tell myself. Like that is what I say to myself. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. The self-compassion is huge. Even if you're joining this and you don't have a business, like please hold some self-compassion.
Yes. Yes.
It will do wonders for your quality of life. Um, and if I were to add my point to that, I think an affirmation I give to myself, and I've told folks before, like I'm really not all that religious. I'm a recovering church girl, but one Bible verse that sticks with me as I'm doing anything is "You are made for such a time as this," and that is based on the story of like Queen Esther. But the idea is that like even if things seem crazy, even if things seem so much bigger than you and you're facing mountains, like you were made for this time, this moment. It's you who's supposed to do this, not somebody else. No one is here to do it better than you, or even if you see somebody else doing something similar, understand that you were really made to be in this time doing what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Always remember that.
That's a good one. It's like
Yeah.
what's meant for you will always be for you.
For you,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good
Exactly.
one.
It will always be for you. And I know some new people are joining, even more people are joining. This is thank you so much, everyone. We're actually getting to the point where we might wrap soon, but for those who joined a little later and you didn't get the intro, I just want to share again. This is Siham of Wildly Black. It is a sustainable brand. Their evergreen product is the bodysuit that comes in many different colors. And it is really amazing that this is a one woman show. Once again, like that's mind boggling. It's like a one woman show with the help of a mom, which is really my
Yeah.
business as well. I think that's most people's businesses. But it's a really amazing brand for folks who are really serious about like I'm ready to buy less, buy better. I want to be a more conscious consumer. I want my dollar to go towards building the reality I believe in. I highly suggest you go check out Siham. So outside of here on like Instagram, what's your website? Where can people find you? Where can
Yeah.
people get connected with you?
Yeah. So we're at www.wildlyblack.com. Um, and yeah, I'm on Instagram. And I do have a newsletter too. So you guys can subscribe to our newsletter. Um, and just like run some promotions and things like that. And just also, I talk about just like, I'm very candid about and trying to be more candid about just the journey of being a founder in a sustainable space and the milestones and things that we come across as we're growing this business.
Yeah. And I mean, it's very rare that you get to see a brand up close like that, but I do love like the point you made earlier where it's like a big part of sustainability for your brand is the level of transparency you have, and I think that's amazing. I do.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining tonight. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the questions. And make sure you're following Wildly Black and make sure you're following It's Kyla, Not Kayla. All right. We are going to let you all go. Have an excellent night. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Bye.
Bye.